you ready?
Last case, yes. Here we go.
The final clue you have seen before. One has been blessed to have opened the door. What does that mean?
I don't know.
What? So who's seen? It's probably me.
No, it's probably me.
I've been in more places in the room than you have.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
Okay, are you kidding? Well, you were standing over by the safe. I was the one actually looking for the number.
I was pressing buttons.
Oh, because you were standing in one spot. You didn't even see the whole room. I've been in more places in the room than you have.
Okay, I'm the one who found all the books.
Oh, I found the books. What are you talking about?
No,
I found the books.
No, I did.
I found the books.
You couldn't read. I'm the one that translated it.
Excuse you.
Yeah.
I was the one who found all of the correct words. You ain't my burrito.
Because you got red hair doesn't mean you know everything.
You know what? Just because you're bald doesn't mean that you're...
I was hungry. That's why I ate your burrito.
You ate your hair? Why are you doing this to yourself?
I don't know.
Like, you can't even find any of
You're doing
them.
it to me.
No, you're the one who's like getting all upset because
Hey, don't point at
I
me.
was the one who found all of the
There
clues.
you go. Point at yourself.
I am...
Because you're the wrong
no,
one.
you're the one who's
No.
wrong. It's all your fault anyways. Why do you
not.
want me to get on me?
Guys. I got it.
I got it. What is it? It's this.
Guys, do you remember when I messed up?
Of course you remember when you messed up, Madison. We told you not to open the black door. You're just
listen.
opening the right one.
Come on.
Even though I messed up before, I saw something. Because God blesses. Look, the final clue.
Madison, you did it! Way to go!
Let's see what the final clue is.
Hey there, everyone! I'm Extreme Dude, and welcome to the Extreme Bible Challenge, the Harry edition. Oh, yeah. Commander Larry, do you got a verse for us?
Yes. Let's see. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments. Deuteronomy 7:9. Back to you, Extreme Dude.
Dude, that's so cool. All right, so maybe you're wondering why I got this bear hat on. Well, because today we're learning about how to be extra hairy. That's right, and there's nothing more hairy than a bear. So like Pastor Tony, can you help us out on how to be more hairy?
Wow, Extreme Dude, that is a whole new level of silliness. We are not putting on bear costumes to get hairier. Even if I could use some extra hair up here, that's not what we're talking about. We're looking at the big God story today, and we're learning how God blesses. We've been talking about Adam and Eve, and even Noah, how God keeps his promises, keeps his word, and then there was Abraham, if you remember. And this week, we're going to talk about how God blesses Abraham's, I guess would be his grandkids. You see, Abraham, just before he passed away, he blessed Isaac. Back in those days, blessings were a big thing. You see, it was part of the covenant, the promise that God had made that he would bless Abraham. And Abraham wanted to give that same blessing to his son Isaac. And so before Abraham died, he prayed over Isaac and he blessed him to be the spiritual leader of the home, to be in charge of everything. Isaac, he married, and they had 2 kids, twins. And while they were still in Rebekah's tummy, she got a word from God that the older twin would actually serve the younger twin. The older would serve the younger? That doesn't seem to make sense. The babies came out. One of them was really hairy and red-headed, and he was a manly man. And the other one, well, he had kind of soft skin. He didn't have a lot of hair. They looked very, very different. The time came, Isaac began to get really old. His eyes began to fade. He couldn't see very well. Maybe like your grandparents have a hard time seeing. And he couldn't see very well, but he knew as he was getting near the end, he needed to bless his kids. Just like God blesses, he needed to bless his kids. And so he brought in Esau. Esau was the older one. He said, Esau, I want you to go out and I want you to kill a deer and make the best venison stew ever, my favorite. Go do that and then I will bless you. Now Esau was excited. He wanted that blessing, that spiritual leadership. And so he ran out of the tent. Meanwhile, Rebekah, the mom, was outside the tent listening. And when she heard that, she remembered God's promise that the older would serve the younger. So she had to figure out a way that Jacob, the younger brother, would get the blessing instead of Esau, the older brother. Remember, Jacob didn't have a lot of hair. He didn't like to hunt and those kind of things. He worked around in the tented area. And so Rebekah went out and said, okay, get a couple sheep. We're going to make the best goat sheep stew we've ever made before. and it didn't make sense to Jacob. He goes, okay, and he made the stew. He goes, but I got soft skin. I don't have a lot of hair. She goes, no problem. And she tied on some of that sheep hair to his arm. And so when he went in, he brought the stew to his dad. And as his dad, first he ate it. It tasted good. It wasn't quite the same, but it was good. And then he goes, come here, Esau. And he rubbed his arm. Now, he wasn't really rubbing Esau's arm, was he? He was rubbing Jacob's arm with extra hair on it. And he blessed Jacob. He gave him the blessing. He blessed him with the spiritual blessing that God had given Abraham, who had given it to Isaac, who was now giving it to Jacob, who he thought was Esau. When Esau got back, he was so mad. Would you be mad? He was so mad. In fact, he said, I'm going to kill Jacob. Well, if you were Jacob, you would run, and that's exactly what Jacob did. He ran to another area, another country, back to where Abraham came from. And while he was there, he got a wife and some kids and a big family, and then God told him to come back. But he was kind of scared, because even though it had been a lot of years, Esau was still probably mad at him because he had taken what was Esau's. And so on his way back, he was traveling back to see Esau, probably really scared on the inside. We don't know exactly, but he lined up things just right. So one night while he was sleeping, he was alone. And that night, God appeared like a man. And Jacob reached up and he started wrestling with him. And he said, I refuse to let you go until you bless me. And he wrestled all night with God until finally this man, or God who he was wrestling with, touched his hip and it messed up his hip so he couldn't move anymore. And then God blessed him. You see, Jacob realized blessing wasn't about deceiving dad to take something that didn't belong to me. A blessing was about having a relationship with God. And from that point forward, Jacob was different. In fact, God changed Jacob's name. No longer would he be called Jacob, but his new name was Israel. Have you ever heard that name before? There's a country out there called Israel. There's a whole group of people called Israelites. They all came from Israel. Jacob, God blessed him and turned him into a great nation. And more than that, God had a relationship with him. Why? Because God blesses. That's the most important thing we can learn today, boys and girls. God blesses. All right, back to you, Extreme Dude.
Dude, that's so cool. Thanks, man, for helping me out. Hey, I can't see. All right, this is Extreme Dude. I'll see you guys next time. Help!